When I was young, my parents owned a restaurant in Uruguay, my home country, and my sister and I loved it. It was so fun to go, and we used to help them out with work sometimes. We used to just hang out. They had a playground for a period of time. Then they had a little like ice cream shop. We loved it. We loved going there. Sometimes, because they were busy and they wanted us to be with them more time, they used to take us there while they were working, but always like interacting with us. And it was fun. It was so much fun. As a kid, I loved it. And then looking back, what started to happen after that, which it took me a little while to notice, was that it was a restaurant and a pub, so it was open at night too. And my father, the economy was very challenging at the time. So my father, of course, wanting to be able to put food on our plates and give us a life better than what he had, and not wanting us to go through struggles, he was working a ton of hours. A ton of hours. He would work through lunch. So he started earlier, because of course he had to open up, do a lot of things, get things started maybe in the kitchen before the cook came, and do a lot of stuff. Then they closed a little bit in the afternoon, and they opened again at night. So what he used to do is go home in the afternoon to take a nap, because of course he was working until late at night, starting in the morning. He had very little sleep. He would take a nap in the afternoon. And the very common theme at home was like, okay, be quiet. And they didn't have to force us, because of course my sister and I didn't want to make any noise. But the theme was like, okay, just be quiet because dad is sleeping. Please don't make any noise because dad is sleeping. And over time, I realized I'm not seeing my dad very much. And I understood, like, it's funny, my mother used to say, like, I was very mature for my age always. And I understood at a level, like, he has to do it. Like, the economy is very tough. He has to do it, I get it. But of course, my little heart as a kid is in pain. I want to spend more time with my dad. I want to see him. So I started developing a lot of resentment towards the restaurant, the place that I used to love, the place that was actually putting food in my plate, the place I was actually able to pay for my education, because at the time they wanted to send it to a private school, because it was a lot better than the other options. And I'll share more about that in another video, because that's a deeper topic. And that allowed us to have the lifestyle they wanted us to have, which was nothing crazy and fancy, but it was a very tough time. And that resentment that I started to develop for the restaurant, it kept growing, and eventually I just ignored it. I didn't think about it anymore, and it was always in the background, but in the future, eventually they sold the restaurant and we moved to the US. And when I started doing inner work and healing my inner child, I was working with my friend Billy, and we were doing a lot of like movement and drawing and stuff. And one thing that came up, I realized at the time, is like, I actually hate that restaurant. And I hadn't been aware of that. Now looking back, I know, but I hadn't been aware of that until I was like 27 or so. And I see that I hated it as a kid, but I realize it now, that I hate that restaurant. It's a love-hate relationship. In a way, I love it. It was fun. It was actually the coolest place in my town. The most well-known place. They did a beautiful job running it, my parents, so it was fun as a kid. But I hate, because It was what took my dad away from me. And I've talked to him about it. It's okay. I don't want to make him feel bad. I get it. He had to go through that. He had to do it for us. But the restaurant was what took my dad away. And as a kid, just imagine how that feels. So what I realized that I needed to do to heal that part of myself, to heal that part of my journey, that experience that I went through, was that I can't just think about it, I can't just visualize, I can't do anything just superficial. I have to give that little boy a voice. I have to let him speak about it. I have to let him share his emotions. And what I had to do is I actually had to voice it out. And I had to express my hate. Use hate and anger and resentment towards the restaurant. And I actually had to say out loud the things that that little boy wanted to say to his father that never got to say. And this reminds me how when I'm doing one-on-one coaching sessions, how an exercise that I have people do is, if it's healing something with their father or mother, it depends, and I could go deeper into this if you want me to, but imagine that they're talking to his father or their mother or whoever, and that you're at that age when whatever happened, and saying everything, every little thing that you feel like you wanted to say and didn't get to say. It's incredible how healing that is. Incredible. Unbelievable healing happens. So I started to voice that out. And then what I had to actually also voice out was, like I said, saying to my dad the things that I wanted to say. And there was anger. Anger came up. And that's okay. I'm not angry at my dad now, but anger needed to be expressed from that kid. And resentment needed to be expressed. And asking, why did you abandon me? Why did you reject me? Because I know he didn't reject me, but I felt rejected. Why did you forget about me? What I want to invite you to with this video is to tell your inner child, let your inner child know, show your inner child that if it needs to express something, if it needs to voice it out, to say it out loud, that it's okay, that you are given it permission to do so, that you'll be the person to voice it out, that it's safe, that it's okay, and that you're there to support it with whatever it needs. Because the beautiful thing that sometimes we don't need to say it to the person. In some cases, like mine, I'm okay sharing that with my father. Everything that I felt and experienced, I've shared a lot with him. But in some situations, you might not feel safe, or you might not want to tell them exactly everything about how you felt. But what happens is that your inner child doesn't need to say it directly to the person. It might just need to voice it out, to say it out loud, to express it. And that in itself is very healing. So you can do it, you can stand in front of the mirror and just say, looking into your eyes, that's very healing, very deep. You can do it in a meditation. You can grab a recorder and just go at it. No holding back. No holding back. And the reason why some people like the recordings is sometimes things come out that you didn't even know were there. So you can go back and listen to it and see what came up. And then the next time you listen to it, something else will come up. But all we're doing is showing the inner child that it can say anything it wants. Anything that it felt like it never got the chance to say. Because all your inner child is asking for, all it's saying is, I just want to know that I have the right to say anything. When it feels suppressed, when it feels like it doesn't have the right, when it feels like you're holding back because you don't know how it's going to behave and what's going to come out, then guess what that will do? That will build up and build up and build up until you explode. You might emotionally just explode with someone. You just barf everything out to them. But if you give your inner child that right, you let it know it's okay to say whatever you need to say. And you go through that exercise of just sharing all that. The amount and the level of healing that can happen can be truly beautiful and truly deep. Very healing. So I just want to invite you to explore that. At whatever level feels right to you, just explore that. It's safe to do. You're with yourself. It's safe to do it. We don't need to repress those things anymore. We can give that part a voice. We can give that part the time and attention and love and care that it wanted and needed. You can't go back and do that back then, but you can do it now. Right? Like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So I invite you to do that now.